911, what is your emergency? You hear these words, state the problem, and wait for help to arrive. Now that's how a press release from Inyo County begins. It continues when calling to report a crime. You know that the person responding will typically be wearing the uniform of a deputy sheriff or police officer. As officers of the law, they are paid to respond to reports of crimes or other emergency needs. Now, who responds when the call is about a medical issue? When a loved one has fallen and injured themselves, or you witness a car accident on the highway, who are the people manning the ambulance that responds to the scene? Would it surprise you to know that they are probably a volunteer who has already worked an 8-hour day at their full-time job? That press release notes, would you also be surprised to know that the majority of Inyo County's emergency medical responders are volunteers who provide emergency medical services through their local volunteer fire department? EMS, Emergency Medical Services in Inyo County, comprised of a paid private ambulance service located in the city of Bishop, as well as trained volunteer emergency medical technicians embedded in volunteer fire departments, Tacopa, Lone Pine, Olancha, Independence, and Big Pine. Now these providers respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, sometimes after having already worked an 8-hour day. These calls ranging from highway accidents to the homes of neighbors and friends who are in medical distress. They cover wide service areas and sometimes have to travel over large distances and difficult terrains to provide life-saving first aid, stabilization, and transport to hospital facilities. Now, Inyo County, the press release notes, experiencing this crisis right now, shortage of EMTs. The chiefs from each of our volunteer fire departments can attest to the challenges they experience in ensuring adequate numbers of EMTs to man an ambulance and respond to an emergency when a 911 call is received. Now, while many are able to recruit firefighter volunteers, recruiting individuals willing and able to complete the training requirements to become an EMT, that's a challenge. So on behalf of the EMS community of Inyo County making a 911 call to everybody in the community. Have an emergency and they need you. Find out how you can support your EMS and or your volunteer fire department. Please contact your local fire department. We will note that full press release with the contact numbers located on our website, sierrawave.net. Well, Deb Murphy filed this story for Sierra Wave Media. The Alameda County judge's order overruling the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power's request to dismiss Mono County's suit may include some hints as to how the legal battle over dewatering ranch leases may go. Now, the basis of Mono County's suit is the requirement to conduct a California Environmental Quality Act CEQA study to determine potential damage to the 6,200 acres of grazing meadows leased from and historically irrigated by LADWP for nearly a century. The department wanted the suit dismissed since the 2010 leases indicated water could be withheld for any reason. Judge Avilio Grillo didn't buy that argument. Now, according to Mono County Counsel Stacy Simon, there are a couple of lines where the judge signals his opinion on the underlying case. Specifically, Simon points out the strategic use of the word were. Maybe not quite is, but were. For instance, the order states, if the court were to have granted the request, the documents, in this case the 2010 leases, do not compel the conclusion that the City of Los Angeles exhausted the CEQA procedure in 2010. Simon's interpretation is what the court is saying, that even when it does consider the evidence, which would have been inappropriate on demurrer, he doesn't find it persuasive. Now, the order goes on to cite case filed by Inyo County in 1977, stating a proposed change in water acquisition and use can be a CEQA project. Now, there are a number of other instances in the order where Judge Grillo dismisses the city's arguments based on the leases. Another of the city's arguments against Mono County's lawsuit is based on the City of Los Angeles' guidelines for the implementation of CEQA. The order states that it is unclear what effect the court is to give an opinion based on compliance with those guidelines. That story is posted on sierrawave.net. Well, we've got some blood drives taking place next week in the Eastern Sierra, in Bishop and Mammoth Lakes. In Bishop next week, coming up on Tuesday, March 12th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Wednesday, March 13th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can give at the Bishop Elks Lodge. And you know, you can go online to bloodhero.com, enter the sponsor code BISHOP. And as a big thanks, every donor will receive a free pizza voucher, one medium topping pizza at Pizza Factory in Bishop during that Bishop Community Blood Drive. Phone number to call, get all the information, make an appointment, 760-920-3281. We'll also note Mammoth High School putting on a blood drive March 14th, 8:30 a.m. to 1:45 p.m. in the Husky Gymnasium. To book your spot there, call toll free 800-696-4484, 800-696-4484. Again, you can go to bloodhero.com, sponsor code for Mammoth, N1SHH. Deb Murphy also filed this story for Sierra Wave Media, noting that just a week since the passage of legislation designating the Alabama Hills a national scenic area, the Bureau of Land Management and Alabama Hills Stewardship Group held the first workshop, step one in the journey to a plan determining how the area will be managed into the future. Now, the format included background on the effort to get the designation, a description of the area boundaries and current usage, followed by community input on trails, campgrounds, special permits, and vision. Now, at the conclusion of the 2-hour session on Tuesday, it seemed the first question that needed answering was, do locals want more visitors or fewer? Now, according to BLM range technician Dave Kirk, approximately half of the user groups are motorists and hikers, with climbers and campers, both tent and RV, each accounting for another 40%. The vehicle count in 2018 was 60,000, according to Kirk. That's double the numbers, he said, from 10 years ago. Now, while campgrounds aren't maxed out, dispersed camping is spreading to previously undisturbed areas. Kirk told the group most are in good shape, but Mike Prather explained that's probably because the locals look after the sites and clean up the messes. That was typical of other aspects of Alabama Hills activity. Things are pretty good, but with the increase in visitors comes an increase in misuse. Now, community input trended to regulating bad behavior by restricting the activity, whether it be OHVs going off trail, dispersed campers obliterating vegetation, or careless target shooters. One of the more feisty community members wanted to shoot drones out of the sky. BLM Resource Management Specialist Sherry Lasisas suggested education as the first step. Better located and additional informational kiosks were suggested, as was the use of social media. Now, said Kevin Mizzou of the Stewardship Group, there hasn't been much promotion by the Stewardship Group. The increase in use has been driven by social media. We have to communicate this is a special place and we have to take care of it, Mizzou said. Jolie Varela of Lone Pine Paiute Shoshone Tribe already doing that in response to social media posts of what Deb Murphy calls idiots posed on top of the arch. Varela responded with a description of the value, uniqueness, and fragility of the rock formation. Photos were removed and the posers apologized. Now, hypothetically, there will be federal funding to be used on Alabama Hills for education, enforcement, infrastructure, and whatever elements in the final management plan. Mizzou explained the Congressional Budget Office has authorized $4 million for the Alabama Hills, but he was not sure if those funds had been appropriated. Again, we thank Deb Murphy for that report, and we'll be back with more news.